So I would definitely say JJK is an honestly a pretty good point in the overall game's lifespan. Now, even it's a bit concerning, but while a lot of people I've seen quit on JP, it's still overall one of the best times for JJK Phantom Parade. As you know, we got some pretty good SP buffs. We're continuing to get SP buffs, and then we're gonna be getting things, for example, like the new sweep update being the second sweep stage and also the second sweep buff stage for actual buffs, so like same units could get a second set of buffs, and a Dwayne investigation event in September, right? And then my guess is probably in October we're going to get tower floor up to 100. So in terms of content, we're looking a lot better now as there's sweep and tower, and they're even doing little events like this for domain investigation. So I definitely think in terms of content, we're starting to look better and better. And for units, honestly, if we're checking it out, there are less units releasing, but every unit is a banger. And this has been the case since Anniversary. We got Gojo, we got Shoko, Nanami, and now Choso. That's 4 units back to back, alongside a plethora of SP buffs since Mei's release that have all been very good. And now in this video, what we're going to talk about is the future of the game and all future units that I'm expecting and when. So this video, I really want you guys in the comments down below to tell me what you're expecting. Now, we do basically know that we could expect a completely brand new unit in August because it says new playable character, and that refers to someone like Ino, Choso, right, Mei, and most likely this will end up being Naobito, but we're going to get more into that. Now, in my server today, I was at the gym and I'm like, yo, why don't I just like talk about what units I'm expecting to come up for Anniversary and other units we could get in between. So why don't we do this, and you let me know in the comments what you're expecting. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts, and I feel like this, basically, I'm basing this off of logic and what we need. So what I want to say is green is complete. While Choso maybe shouldn't have been released, what I think, the more I think about it, how it was is that we needed a green damage unit. They wanted to finish off green and start working on other colors, okay? Now, how I see it is they allowed Choso to be such a good Jujutsu DPS because probably by their statistics, so many people already summoned on Honored One that it wouldn't have mattered if Choso was good because they already have Honored One. So it's not like the game's going to lose out on money even on Global, because people are summoning so much on Gojo that if they summon on Choso, it's just extra for the DPS but not a necessity, where his support is really good. So while he is number 2 in the game, it doesn't really matter in terms of a lot of people because they already got Gojo, which is why Choso was such a good Jujutsu DPS, and that's kind of my thought process behind it now and how they thought. However, yellow and blue are in desperate need of help. Blue needs a stat buffer, and then yellow and also a taijutsu DPS, and yellow is also in need of probably a new jujutsu DPS for second Annie if we're considering power creep. I just don't think Gojo is going to be enough, and I'm going to talk about how Yuji could be way better in the future. And red for the most part is fine, but considering power creep, I'm going to talk about everything I'm expecting, right? And this is including, I think the way they're going to do it is tower floors are going to come before every Anniversary. So probably in October, we could expect another 20 floors, I hope, because they're doing a lot of content in September. So why not do some in October or November for tower, right? I think that is fair, but you let me know. So first Anniversary, second Annie JP, first part headliner. So I'm talking about my personal thoughts between Annie to New Year, which is November to December, but of course we could get more things. And by the way, I did miss out on this the first time I read it, but there is gonna be original main story part 2 information in late August, and this could create units like Zonji. Zonji is an original unit, so in the future we might get like a special domain Gojo, or we could get something like a Teen Ghetto and Teen Gojo dual unit, right? Maybe somehow they fucking go back in time or some shit like that, and then we get some Teen Ghetto Gojo type shit, right? Something like that, or like they start off with a tag, I meant a tag unit, like a tag Kaido and Saki, something like that, right? Just to give you guys an idea. So my first part Annie headliner is probably going to be Sukuna. In my opinion, that makes the most sense. Now, there's a couple of reasons, but number one, I do want to talk about this. So if we go into here, right, and we go to tower, I think it's floor 61. I would like to make sure, but I think it's floor 61 that has this, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. So this guy right here, if we check the translation right now, it says vulnerable to fire attacks. And this is on yellow. So this was the initial suspicion for either a Jogo or a Fuga Sukuna from Shibuya to be yellow. Okay, that's number one. Now, number two reason, at least for me right now, is that we have Zonji in yellow, which then means if they make Sukuna, then they will make it. And this, I think, makes sense, right? For stages that aren't Taijutsu or Jujutsu lower. And what I mean by that is if we go to certain floors, for example, right? For example, 77, it has Taijutsu total damage reduction. And then for something, I think every floor has this. For yellow, it's Taijutsu total damage reduction. For red, I guess all those floors are Taijutsu. But there is 74 that is Jujutsu total damage reduction, which lowers the allies, like your units' damage for that typing, or for that DPS type, right? So what it would mean is that if they do release Sukuna, well, you're not going to be able to dual DPS Sukuna and Zonji on those types of floors. And even on, well, obviously, because the one's going to be Jujutsu being Sukuna, one's going to be Taijutsu being Yuji. But most importantly, on floors that don't have that are like basically just run whoever, you don't have Taijutsu or Jujutsu lowered, then you still can't run Sukuna with Yuji, which I think is the biggest reason to release a yellow Sukuna, because then it makes it so that you're not going to run into dual DPS situations like a Sukuna plus Zonji. So then it does lower the value of Zonji for like dual DPS team comps, because right now, obviously, you guys know dual DPS team comps are very popular for yellow with either Tinjo or Zonji as main DPS, and then you got Mekamaru as second, and same with yellow Nanami, right? Like you got some different combinations possible. So, and same with blue at the same time. Green, I mean, I guess now with Choso it works, and red doesn't really have it, but I guess you could count Nanami as that. But for yellow, it's very prominent. So now with Sukuna being yellow, well, you wouldn't be able to run these two on the same team, which is honestly like, it lets them make more money off of you. So I'm trying to think like them. So Fuga Sukuna being yellow makes sense. Burn, it's 61, I should say. It's 61 that, where is it? That has the burn increase. So that's one of the reasons I thought Fuga Sukuna being yellow makes sense. Also, if we think about it logically, blue has Sukuna, green doesn't need Sukuna, and red, well, personally, I'm expecting someone else, and we're about to talk about that soon. So next up, second part, I'm personally thinking we're going to get a blue Toji. Now, yellow has Zonji for Taijutsu. Green cannot get another DPS like Toji this soon after. And red has Toji already. So if we're getting a reincarnated Toji for anniversary, I think blue Toji makes sense, because they do need a new blue limited Taijutsu unit, right? I think that would honestly be kind of filling in the void for blue. And Toji is kind of, I should probably start looking at the pictures, but Toji is definitely deserving of a unit, right? Toji definitely needs one, and they've already teased them. I think it makes perfect sense. Blue Taijutsu is in a very bad spot to where having Toji would be fire. And also, why I'm thinking Toji would be great is because then in those instances, you could still run either blue Yuji or blue Toto, right? And still have access to Maki. So it's like you'd be in a pretty good spot for Taijutsu if Toji is blue. And Toji could work very well with Yuji. I mean, I guess until we get a stat buffer, but you know, there is that. So I'm saying blue Toji for part 2, but obviously some of these slots could be interchanged. Like he could be end of year, New Year's, like Sukuna was, and like Degumi was, and then we could have the end of year unit that I put being second part. But then afterwards, I'm saying only 2 parts because there is JJK 0. Now there's 2 things they could do. One, release new rec bits, right, for the same units, make them broken. And or also just release a JJK 0 Gojo. Now the thing is with JJK 0 Gojo is he's most likely going to be Taijutsu. Yellow would not need a Taijutsu. Green just got Gojo, right? Blue is most likely going to be getting Toji. I just don't see them doing a Gojo. And red has Domain Gojo, right? So for me personally, I just don't think it's time for JJK 0 Gojo. What I'd rather they do is make SP buffs for all the SSRs. So this was something I talked about in my value video, like summon banner guide, which you should definitely check out. Is that essentially, I mean, they could make Yuta very good very easily. He's like 15k, yeah. So they could, all they have to do is make the alt have no cooldown, like no alt gauge blocker for 4 turns, and then whenever he heals, maybe he gives himself like 20 or 30 CE to then be able to spam this more, because this is a very strong skill 3. In total, I mean, close to 800%, right? I think, or about, or on 800%. So if they just give him more CE to spam this more, and then on his alt, like do a couple things. Number one, remove the alt block, like, because for 4 turns, you can't build alt gauge. Remove that, give him break damage, could be huge. And then also maybe give him like a debuff on the alt where it's like, it increases red damage by 50% for 4 turns. And just little things like that is going to make him way better. And then they could also buff Blue Ghetto, since now he's kind of obsolete to being summoned, right? So if they give him an SP buff, well, more people are going to summon. And then obviously we need Miguel to get one because he sucks ass. So I could definitely see them actually doing that. And this way, well, they're going to be able to do that, like make money off of JJK0 without releasing a new unit, because I just don't think it's time for a JJK0 Gojo. I'd rather them do that next year. I feel like next year would be better, because now we're getting Shibuya, so we don't need some super special thing for JJK0 when it's coming right after Shibuya. Just buff the JJK0 SSRs, and then when they do that SSR buff, well, then there we go. We're going to be fine. And we don't need to go too crazy in terms of making money on new units. They're going to probably make more than enough on new players, because Fuga Sukuna is going to come. That means new players. And then afterwards, oh my god, Yuta's here and he's actually good and buffed. Well, let me get Yuta for red DPS. I think that makes sense. And then they're going to bait you with Red Yuta, with New Year being Maharaga / Megumi. Now, I'm going to give you my reasons for this, right? So I'm talking about this Megumi, of course. And my personal thing is that it's going to be like a transformation. Oh, wait, I guess I didn't show it fully. No, I guess you could see it. So if we scroll down, this image, right? Let's just go through it. We got Anonymous, we got Ino, we got Inumaki, we got Maki, and we got Meme. So we got 5 units from this list since this came out in January. And in 7 months, getting 5 of these is very good, considering we're probably getting Naobito next month. This is slowly being ran through, right? We're slowly getting all of these units one by one. So in my opinion, this is basically just teasing all the next units, no matter the form. Because Nanami was teen, but it still worked out that we got a new Nanami, and we got, right? We're slowly getting these units, right? So I definitely think all of these units here are confirmed to getting another unit in the next year or so, maybe even more. And because of that, I'm saying Megumi has to be in the unit because of that fact, and he would be red. Now, red also makes the most sense meta-wise for a couple of reasons. Well, if we see here, red needs a new Jujutsu DPS. The last one was Nobara, and she is still very good, but with power creep, I could see us needing maybe a Nobara level damage for AoE, right? Then blue has Megumi, green has Megumi, yellow has Megumi. So usually they do one unit of each color before going on to redoing them. For example, they did blue Gojo, green Gojo, yellow Gojo, red Gojo, and then afterwards they did green Gojo. For example, they did green Yuji, blue Yuji, green, then blue Yuji, green, then red Yuji, then blue Yuji, then yellow Yuji, and now we could get another color. So it's almost confirmed that we're getting a red Megumi, and it makes sense because we need a red Jujutsu DPS now, which I've been saying for a while. So I could definitely see that being New Year. And us getting Maharaga Megumi, because a solo Megumi is kind of meh, but a New Year Megumi Maharaga would bring in so many players alongside Fuga Sukuna that I really think this is the best thing that they can do. Now, Maharaga and Toji can switch, but I just think that saving a hyper, I would say Maharaga Megumi's hyper than Toji for New Year, and I would say this is the best way to do it. Also, because if they do something like an SP buff Yuta, well, you make people summon on Yuta, and then you make another red DPS, right? So that's the best way that they could do it, and it also makes it so that Maharaga Megumi isn't the most needed at the same time. Well, obviously with the new tower floors, Yuta is able to do decent enough in it. That would be crazy. So this is my thoughts for anniversary to New Year timeline. Fuga Sukuna, reincarnated Toji, and then probably just SP buffs for JJK0. Let me know if I'm missing a unit. Like, I don't really know what else they would do for JJK0 that hasn't been done besides JJK0 Gojo, but I just don't think it's time for a Gojo. If they do it, it's not even a problem of it being too many Gojos. It's a problem of him not fitting in anywhere as a taijutsu unit, right? That's my biggest thing, because what would he be? Red? You're not, no domain Gojo. He has to be like JJK0 Gojo would have to be like #1 in the game if you're not like allowing him to run with this Gojo. Now he could be blue, but the problem is I really think Toji has to be blue, because Toji can't be red with the way that this game works with new units, can't be green, and can't be yellow because Zonji is still there. So I just don't see them doing, like, if they're doing another yellow DPS, it's gonna be a Jujutsu one. So it has to be a blue Toji unless they're just not doing a Toji. But since he was already shown when an Ino was released, it kind of has to be a Toji, right? And I just feel like a JJK0 Gojo will fit in better next year than this year, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts. Now, other Shibuya units, or just units in general, a yellow Shibuya Todo. So Todo is going to be a great partner for Zonji. And this is just going to be a regular Todo before, I would say, like the big fight with Todo, right? I definitely think they could do a yellow version to be good with Zonji. And this would be good no matter when they release them. Maybe like, I think before anniversary would be so fire, because then you make people summon for Todo. He makes Zonji great, which is huge. But then Fuga Sukuna comes out, and then people are like, fuck. So yellow Todo obviously would make Zonji as good, if not like on the same level as a Sukuna, the Fuga Sukuna, but like obviously Sukuna wouldn't need 2 units to function. But Todo could literally like just give this type of buff like that Yuji had, being this, to where he gives Zone Yuji 100% Black Flash rate, 100% Taijutsu, and 50% Black Flash damage, and suddenly Zone Yuji is 10 times better, because if he's Black Flashing on every attack and he got way more stats, well, GG, right? That's basically it. Black Flash damage increase is one of the best buffs you can give. So yeah, no, I could definitely see them actually doing that, and it would be huge. So yellow Todo is something I'm personally hoping for. Then an SR Wee. So since we know we're going to be getting a Wee, right, from this, I'm thinking SR Wee. Now, people were wondering how I thought of it, but first of all, the survey also like did have Wee as a potential future unit, but I think make him a hyper-focused Mei support, and he's SR, so it's not going to be as bad. So basically kind of like Yaga or Gaku Ganji, but maybe for a damage increase unit, and then at the same time allowing Mei to have her own team variation for red while not being meta. So for example, her skill 3 or Wee skill 3 will be 20 cursed energy, increases all enemies red damage received by 50% for 3 turns, and then if character named Mei is on your team, increase her Jujutsu and Taijutsu damage by 150%, cannot be stacked. So they could do something like this to make Wee good in general, but then make Mei hyper good with her, because Mei right now sucks. Okay, she doesn't like do enough damage on her ult, and the main reason is because the multipliers aren't good enough, but that could obviously be fixed with a very simple just better buffs, right? More buffs. And you know, I think just things like this, maybe alongside more CE or something, would be enough. I don't know what exactly it could do, but like maybe like Wee says, if character Mei uses a buff skill, further increases Mei's Jujutsu and Taijutsu by 50% for each stack, right? Something like that, right? Little things like that could build up to where Wee could be hyper focused on Mei. I feel like we all agree Wee in some way or another has to make it that he's going to make Mei alone better, because to me Mei feels under leveled, because she released next to Red Nobara SP buff, and Red Nobara SP buff was better than Mei, especially with Tower. So to me, if we could get Mei to just be a little bit better, it could be huge, right? It could definitely be huge. What's good is that she can work on Taijutsu floors too. Just like I do think if they make her just get better numbers through Wee in some way or another, then we're in business, right? Just give Mei exclusive things to where Wee can be used with other units, but then if you're using her with Mei, it's even better. Now, next up, Naobito is pretty much going to be the next unit. We got Dagon. We're probably going to get a Toji. I could definitely see a Naobito, especially because he is there, and they said a new named unit, right? So it could be any color, red, yellow, or blue. Now, the thing is why I'm saying these 3 and obviously not green, because green fucking cannot get a unit this year. Well, let's talk about it. So he's probably going to be a type of DPS because of how he works, doing like having, what is it, like the 24 like FPS type shit where he does like super quick attacks and stunts. He could be some type of sub or main DPS as a mixed damage unit, because he has some cursed attacks and also is very good in Taijutsu. So because of that, they could make him any color as a mixed unit, could be very good, where he won't be amazing in any specific high tower floor, but he could be used in every tower floor. This could be good for blue because the blue units aren't great, but if he's like some type of like maybe mini support while being a good sub DPS, he could be great, because then he could work on a floor like 78. No, I think it's 79. Like a floor like 79 with Sukuna, but not being hyper effective in any of them for right now, while still being good, right? That's the thing. I definitely think that could be cool for blue, but I could also easily see yellow or red. Maybe they'll do red simply because of the fact that red doesn't have a zone state type unit, because yellow has Zonji, blue has Ino, and then we need maybe someone like that for red. So maybe they'll do red, but I feel like right now yellow or blue make the most sense, because red and green were the only two colors buffed during anniversary, and guess what the SP buffs were? Blue and yellow. So I feel like now we're kind of leaning towards more blue and yellow units, which I do want to check something. The SP buffs were for green, blue, and red. So green and red got some, and these were more anniversary units, right? We did get blue Eno after this too. I feel like the SP buffs colors, like colors-wise, are kind of indicative of the units we're going to get afterwards. Because like, we got blue Eno, red Nanami, and then green Shoko Gojo, right? And then this set of SP buffs that I think aren't even here yet, blue Kamo, right, blue Yuji, and we're probably going to get more blue units because it logically makes sense, and then yellow Junpei. So maybe it's going to be that we're going to get blue and yellow units, so I'm kind of guessing yellow or blue mainly, but it could be red, because red is in, it could be red because red is like in a pretty good spot support-wise, but maybe it could get slightly better DPSs, because they're overall carried by the supports, if we're being real. Nanami and Domain Gojo and Yaga, like they got everything for the most part. So yeah, now to be fair, if they do a red unit, we could also get a good stat buffer, because Inumaki just is not it. So we'll have to see. Then Kusakabe could also be very good as a red or yellow unit. He could be kind of like Green Saki for either of these, because he does have some tank-esque abilities. However, I could also see him being a blue stat buffer, because if he isn't an outright DPS, they could easily make it for him to be a blue stat buffer, and that would be very good, because we do need one before second Annie, in my opinion. Once we get this, then blue Sukuna is going to be so much better off, because right now, green Choso, right, if we're considering it, green Choso, the only reason he's better than Sukuna is because Sukuna isn't maxed out on what he could do, right? Choso's team is literally perfect, right? You literally cannot get a better green team if you so wished at any point in time of this game's history, but blue is definitely not in that same spot. So in my opinion, if they release a blue stat buffer, the minute they do, blue Sukuna is going to go crazy, because he has like max 20% stat buffs. However, if they really want to get those multipliers going up and up and up and up, Sukuna is going to start doing way more damage if they get a blue stat buffer. So that's my personal opinions on the matter. And yeah, now other units based on the graphic, probably the next blue, no bar is going to be blue, probably in 2026. And then we're going to get a yellow or blue panda. I'm kind of leaning towards a yellow panda. Your main reason is because there's a yellow rare panda. But to be fair, there's also, I'm pretty sure, a blue SR panda, so it's either yellow or blue, also because those are the only two SSRs he's missing. Now Yuji, I was thinking of this, Yuji Mahito Toto, we could get this for 2.5th anniversary. Am I tweaking? Guys, getting this for 2.5 Annie, I hope we get this for 2.5 Annie, and what I'm personally thinking is we'll get yellow Toto before. However, for 2.5 Annie, right, we could get green, Toto, and Yuji, okay? Because yellow and green needs a new Toto. Now, they're probably going to start with yellow because there's a yellow SR Toto, right? So yellow could be for Zonji, and then for green, they go fucking crazy and just drop this, right? They just drop this. Do you know how insane this would be, okay? As a 2.5th anniversary, you get these 3 units as the anniversary. I think they'd make bank. I think they would make bank. So for me personally, also I should probably put this one. What I want is a green Toto and Yuji for 2.5 Annie. So I could see green because red is going to get SP buffed, okay? Blue, there's Sukuna there. However, he can be blue. Yellow has Zonji, so I don't see it. So it's really either, because red, if red Yuji gets buffed, he's going to be a top 10 unit in the game, okay? He is on par or better than Toji in most instances. He gives himself ult gauge to let him do this ridiculous 1500% ult quicker. Has his own stat debuffs, which for red, you guys have to understand, right? I want to make sure this is clear, so please listen up. The main reason that I put Yuji over Toji is because Yuji has the stat debuff that is multiplicative for red. Why I'm saying this is because in red, the SSR stat debuffer is Inumaki, which either almost no one has or no one uses because he's just not good enough and cannot use his stat debuff enough. Stat debuffs are multiplicative, and if you have that, your damage goes way up. So yes, Toji's ult is a bit higher. Toji can be a bit more consistent by using this every turn, but Yuji has access to this, which is outright multiplying his damage and some of the team's damage, which then means his damage is crazy. So if they give this guy an SP buff, bro, he gets up to 140% taijutsu, 45% taijutsu damage increase, right? And then being consistent and getting his ult super quickly because of this, they could easily make this guy ridiculous. And right now, I mean, most people that play tower on JP consider him the best taijutsu DPS. So if they buff this guy, red cannot get a new Yuji. Blue can. I think blue can. Yellow cannot. So it's either blue or green Yuji. But. Because there's already a blue total and we're going to need a green total and yellow in the future, well, yellow total is going to be for Zonji. However, if they're making these guys partners, like they did Teen Shoko and Green Gojo, they could easily make green total and green Yuji for 2.5 anniversary in May 2026. Or third year. Even better, third year, right? So I definitely think either 2.5 Annie or third Annie is going to be these guys. But besides that, that's way in the future. But I was just kind of knocking off all the units from the graphic here. The only others that we basically don't really know is blue Nobara, blue or yellow Panda, and then a Yuji, right? But, you know, green Megumi, red Megumi, a red Wee, like these two in the back are definitely highly possible. Now, maybe they count Yuji as a Sukuna, which then means we're not confirmed to Yuji, because this might be that they're counting Sukuna, because technically Teen Nanami counted as Nanami. So because of that, and also maybe Megumi's just a Maharaga. So because of that, Yuji might just be here for a Sukuna, which then will mean that this is going to be the Yuji that we're going to get, and maybe green Yuji's only in fucking like 30 or something like that. But I just see this unit happening. So yeah, that's kind of the meta for the next little bit. Let's go and break it down. So red, I think we're fine, like overall on a taijutsu unit for now. I think we're really going to be getting a red Megumi Maharaga. However, Naobito is extremely possible. The thing is, there's still two very good taijutsu and jujutsu units. So mixed Naobito for red is a bit kind of meh because we're fine right now. But maybe it's build up for the future. Blue, I could definitely see a blue taijutsu unit, and we need a blue stat buffer. Now, am I tweaking? I am pretty sure we found our blue stat buffer. It's just going to be Utahime. Let me just read this. Solo Forbidden Area is Utahime's innate technique and temporarily amplifies the cursed energy of any willing sorcerer within range, including herself. So I think she's just going to be the stat buffer for blue. So I just want to make sure that's clear. I think it's going to be Utahime also because she was shown in the survey. So to me personally, red's going to get... let me have this on my side just so I could kind of list this as we go by. Okay, so red is going to get Maharaga Megumi for red because that's the last Megumi we need, and he's Jujutsu. So it makes perfect sense because if we check it, the last good DPS unit was Toji, so it would make sense for a Jujutsu Megumi, right? Also because the last Jujutsu DPS that was good was Nobara. Now blue is going to get a blue taijutsu unit, so that would be Toji, okay? Either a blue Toji or a blue JJK 0 Gojo if it's not Toji, to be fair. They could definitely do that. I could definitely see that happening. Now for green, I could see like in mid to late 2026, green Yuji and green Toto based off of this right here, right? And then for yellow, I could see us getting a yellow Fuga Sukuna for anniversary, and then a yellow total to go alongside Zonji. And now for more miscellaneous ones, a red Wee would make sense for Mei to make her way better if it's very unique buffs, as I mentioned before. We could definitely get a new blue Naobito, would definitely help Taijutsu a bit more if he's more Taijutsu centered. I think that could be good. And then Kusakabe, I could definitely see him being yellow. And then obviously I could definitely see us very soon getting a blue Utahime. If it's Utahime, now the thing is, I would say maybe it could be Utahime in August, because that's the main, like out of any role, that's the biggest role we're missing. A blue stat buffer for for blue, because yellow has Shoko, green has Shoko, red has Yaga. Then for damage increase or decrease, right, like damage increase buff or debuff, there's Domain Gojo, Nanami. Then blue has Momo, so they're fine for now, but they can definitely get another one like on the level of Choso. Obviously green has Choso and SR Momo. Then yellow has Domain Megumi, I don't think Yaga has any, but there is Domain Megumi. So it's like blue's missing a bit of the most, right? Because Momo's the worst out of all the damage increase units. Red's is 300% and 240%. Blue's is 120%. Green is 225% at max with Choso, and yellow is 300% at max. 300% or 350? I think 350. So it's like blue needs a damage increase buffer and a stat increase buffer. So we could definitely get Utahime for blue very soon. The only thing is, because of the fact we're getting a new Shibuya chapter in August, this means the new late August unit is going to be either Naobito or Kusakabe. However, I could definitely say keep Utahime on your radars for maybe September or October. I definitely think that could happen. Yeah, I can't wait for that, bro. Oof, I can't wait. I wish we got 2 units in a month so we could get Utahime almost like no diff, right? But it might only be later. Unfortunate. But yeah, let me know what you think. What are we excited for from what I talked about? What are we like kind of indifferent about? I think Choso kind of showed that basically they're going to release less units but make them all good. Because if they're making a standard unit on the level of Gojo, we're in for a treat. So that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Naobito should be our next unit, but I really hope in between that or a bit after we could get Utahime. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching this video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.